patronizing our local companies is our problem. I don't know why. The same thing that syringe manufacturers are saying are what pharmaceutical manufacturers are saying. We don't patronize ourselves, and then when we patronize, the government doesn't pay. The government is owing the pharmaceutical manufacturers about 3 billion naira as we speak.
It's more than that, madam. I have a petition before the committee. It's about 30, it's more than 30 billion naira.
Oh, maybe, okay, yes. So that is part of our problem, sir. So the short term, from my perspective, is incentives from Ministry of Trade. We don't make anything. These manufacturers don't make anything locally. They have to import, just like pharmaceutical manufacturers. If we don't make anything, it makes sense to give incentives. Ghana just gave incentives looking forward to AFCFTA, African Free Trade. We have to give that short term. And then those that have not been paid should be paid. Because how can they recoup what they invested if they are not paid? I don't know whether legislation can be done to pay up front and sign something. And then the
sorry, madam, can I just say something? Yeah. Outstandings to pharmaceutical industries. Madam, I'm aware, I've investigated some of those transactions. You know, there was this drug revolving funds that were given to institutions. And I think we need to review the rules on that drug revolving fund. Because if you find a situation where people just keep giving drugs, and I've investigated a lot of the teaching hospitals, you can't reconcile those accounts. So I wonder how you can reconcile those amounts. That's the reality. So we must, I don't see how a pharmaceutical company can continuously give somebody credit when they are not paying back. The institutions get budget every year. They get budget for drugs. There was a drug revolving fund that was made available to the institutions. What did they do with it? So while we are looking at all of that, we need to go back to the policies regulating. So if they're going to be supplying syringes to the teaching hospitals, there must be a budget for syringes in the budget of the teaching hospitals. They must pay annually. And that is what our oversight function is to make sure that the monies that are meant for specified transactions are paid for. So the issue should, the huge debt shouldn't be a deterrent. And I'd like the minister to also look at those outstandings with various teaching hospitals and the pharmaceutical companies, and the way they supply drugs to the hospitals. We need to have, there should be a regulation. It's not regulated, so people are doing what they like.
Thank you, distinguished deputy, was taking note, because I have what I call a petition written by the pharmaceutical manufacturing group. They submitted a lot of evidences, and I think it's something that Minister of Health will have to look at. And it's more of administrative things, you know, especially with changes of leadership. Somebody will owe money, another one will come. Instead of continuity, we say, oh, I'm not the one that owe, he will not be paying, or we say, I'll be paying small, and then he will start his own. So those are things that the ministry will have to sort out. But let's face where we are. So I have to summarize now. All we've discussed in line with the motion and the request of the 5-point agenda, I divided it into 3. And the implementing body of government, which our resolution will cover. 1 is the policy, which is in the purview of the Ministry of Trade. And what we have from the minister, we've had all the comprehensive content, and we have the processes that within the next 3 months, that policy will get FEC approval. So we present that to the Senate, and we also, the appropriate committee will monitor that. The second and third point, I'll merge them into 1. This will be Federal Ministry of Health. Implementation of Executive Order 3 and 5, and then encouraging full utilization. And on that, we have 2 agreements. 1, the ministry to develop a policy within the next 6 weeks of giving exclusivity of procurement and utilization of syringe and needle only manufactured in Nigeria by all teaching hospitals. And then they will be able to do that. And anybody that fails that, of course, once there's a policy, that will be sanctioned. The second, to that part, which is also part of the utilization, is the MPCDA regarding the syringe and needle used for immunization for vaccines that are bought or procured with Nigerian money, that there should be no any other anidu coming from any other country other than anidu that is manufactured in Nigeria. We want a policy on that, and we give 6 weeks deadline so that the committee will monitor that. The last two are things that require rehabilitation of syringe and facility funding. Is Ministry of Trade and CBN and Finance. This is about part of what the minister have said regarding what some incentives that will be, in addition to what is contained in the policy, is other specialized incentives that this sector could have. I think we look at that. But secondly, which we discussed the last time, which the ministry can also help, is how the manufacturing group will assess the CBN COVID-19 funding window. We discussed it the last time.
They have something in trade and
That's I've already mentioned what they have in trade, which is, but specifically, you know, they are part of the group that's supposed to benefit from the CBN fund for COVID to encourage local manufacturing of pharmaceuticals that we need. So the Ministry of Trade will also help us to look into that. So those are the 3 areas of which we'll cover.
But so, I think there's one more area we have.